Mega Evolutions in Pokemon were introduced to do one thing and one thing alone. Sell give a new lease on life to old favorite Pokemon. I mean, why else would they give Mega Evolutions to historic low tiers such as Salamence, Metagross, Mewtwo? Yeah, they definitely needed those to make things work out competitively. But sometimes Mega Evolution goes wrong, and instead of causing a former low tier to turn into the LeBron James of flinching with Rock Slide, it just causes the Pokemon to somehow get worse. Today, we're going to talk about Pokemon that you should never, ever Mega Evolve. Let's just get right into it. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, all of that. And hey, you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Lumio City. Let's just begin. I'm recording this one at 2 a.m. just a few days before the Indianapolis Regionals try to get ahead of work. If I look tired, it's because I am. Mega Gallade is an interesting case because originally base Gallade was in dire need of a buff as it basically offered nothing useful to a team as of Generation 6. Its stats were just kind of mediocre across the board, with it boasting a solid 125 attack stat and nothing else really of note. Being a psychic type that could also hit dark types was cool and all, but it was nothing special this many years after its initial release. Mega Gallade at the time in Generation 6 was actually considered quite the upgrade, with it having a considerable stat increase in its huge 165 attack stat, great bulk in its 95 defense and 115 special defense, and even that 110 speed tier. It was able to outrun plenty of staples like Mega Charizard Y and Garchomp at the time. It was given access to the ability Inner Focus, which, while at the time was not a very good ability, it was still able to prevent it from flinching. This eventually would be buffed in Generation 8 as Inner Focus would cause the Pokemon to now ignore Intimidate, meaning that a modern Mega Gallade is not only immune to flinching, but also not able to be intimidated. This is a great combo, but this is a buff that came a little bit too late for Mega Gallade, as base Gallade would also receive a buff in Generation 9. As of Generation 9, base Gallade has access to the ability Sharpness. Sharpness is an ability which would cause the user to have a 50% boost in power to their slicing moves. This includes the likes of Psycho Cut, Night Slash, and most importantly, Sacred Sword. With this buff, Psycho Cut is not only a solid stab move, but also a 105 base power psychic move with a high crit rate. However, Sacred Sword is much more important as it arguably becomes the best fighting type move in the game, with it not only ignoring stat buffs on the opponent, but also being much stronger than Close Combat with no downsides. Close Combat is just 120 base power while lowering the user's defense and special defense every time they use the move, where Sacred Sword with a sharpness boost is a massive 135 base power with nothing, with no drawbacks whatsoever. It is just the best fighting move in the game. This massive boost in power to its slicing moves, which Gallade has plenty of between Sacred Sword, Leaf Blade, Psycho Cut, and Night Slash, allows for base Gallade to actually out-damage Mega Gallade. Mega Gallade hits significantly less hard upon Mega Evolving. For example, a Sacred Sword from a base Gallade into a 2 HP invested Garchomp does between 69 to 82% to that Pokemon, where Mega Gallade's Sacred Sword is doing at most 67%. How many times am I going to fit that into a video? It's scary how often that number comes up in these videos, right? While Mega Gallade can just run Close Combat to make up for that difference in power in Sacred Sword and have better fighting type damage overall, you need to keep in mind that Mega Gallade, due to not having Sharpness, also has a much weaker Psychic type move, as Psycho Cut and Zen Headbutt off of Mega Gallade hit much less hard than a Psycho Cut from a base Gallade. Base Gallade just has superior damage across the board, and while it is able to be intimidated and flinched by Fake Out without it having access to Inner Focus like its Mega Form, and it is also considerably frailer than Mega Gallade, a base Gallade functions well on a number of teams, especially Hard Trick Room, where it can be the Trick Room setter, the Wide Guard user, and the Bodyguard against Dark types. There's just far more applications for this Pokemon across the board, and Mega Gallade just ends up kind of feeling like that one dude in high school who was really athletic at first, but then just didn't age super well. Like, he still has a Snapchat and is trying to send streaks to you every day. You're 30, delete Snapchat. This channel is partnered with GamerSupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order GamerSupps through my link in the description down below, or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. GamerSupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. Now, Sableye may not have the best stats, in fact it hardly has stats at all. A grand total of 380 base stat points is kinda crazy works even for Generation 3 standards. Forget the Hoenn special, this thing was the Hoenn nothing. And despite this, it still managed to succeed even in a modern competitive format, and that's entirely due to its ability Prankster, and also its pretty amazing typing. Prankster is Prankster, it is an ability which grants the user priority on all non-damaging moves. And Sableye being a Ghost Dark type means that not only is it immune to Fake Out, but it's also immune to opposing Prankster Pokemon, taunting it, or encoring it or anything, like Whimsicott has to just swing at it. And due to its great typing, it only has one weakness in Fairy type moves which you can hold the Roselli Berry to deal with. Prankster base Sableye is capable of doing a number of annoying things, including Fake Out, Will-O-Wisp, Quash to make sure that its partner Pokemon goes first, Dual Screens, Rain Dance, and it can even just throw out a Foul Play for solid damage overall if it manages to find room on its moveset. Mega Sableye on the other hand trades its great ability and its access to a held item for a huge increase in bulk to 125 defense and 115 special defense, and some mildly better offenses in 85 for both of those stats. Mega Sableye doesn't accomplish much in basically any games. I mentioned in my buffing bad Megas video that it's basically either going to do nothing in a game due to its low damage output, or it's just going to Calm Mind spam until all of its partners are fainted and this dude has to play a 4v1. Mega Sableye still has all of the great tools that base Sableye has access to, but due to its low speed and lack of access to the move Prankster, it just causes it to be dead weight on a team. I mean, it still has like Fake Out and Snarl and stuff, so it can still play support, but it's me playing a much slower support option, but also costing you your Mega Slot. There are many other better Pokemon that can do this role while not having to waste a Mega Slot on a passive Pokemon. So base Sableye just ends up being much better than the Mega form, at least in doubles. In singles, base Sableye can still play. It's kinda nuts there. Mega Excadrill is actually a Pokemon on this list that you could argue has the highest potential of any of these other Pokemon, but it doesn't change the fact that there's no real reason to use this thing when base Excadrill can do everything it does and better. For the most part, it can't hit through Protect, but we'll talk about why that's kind of an issue for Mega Excadrill later on. Base Excadrill isn't the bulkiest of Pokemon, with it having that great HP stat, but pretty awful defenses in 60 defense and 65 special defense. However, its 88 speed and 135 attack stat with a ground steel typing has always been enough to keep it more than just relevant. Excadrill's ability Sand Rush is really the thing that holds it all together. Doubling speed as long as sand is active causes base Excadrill to be among the fastest Pokemon in the game, outspeeding even Mega Aerodactyl, and not only allowing it to throw out powerful Earthquakes and Iron Heads, but even getting to roll the dice alongside a Tyranitar by spamming Rock Slide. Mega Excadrill trades this ability for a naturally higher base speed stat of 103. This is enough to outrun the likes of not only Charizard Y, but base Garchomp and Mega Floette Eternal. It's a very intentional speed tier that practically screams, I'm here to counter these Pokemon, but it just doesn't see play. And why is that? This is despite the fact that Mega Excadrill has a massive 165 attack stat, which if we've learned anything from Mega Gallade isn't all it takes to be a great Pokemon. As a matter of fact, Mega Heracross has one of the highest attack stats in the game, and you don't see that thing making waves in competitive at all. Mega Excadrill though also has a much better 100 defense, allowing it to have pretty great bulk overall, and it even has the ability to hit through Protect for quarter damage via the ability Piercing Drill. The issue is that base Excadrill's speed is much better than Mega Excadrill as long as Sand is active, and it has access to a Focus Sash, and it's a much lower cost Pokemon to run to be a staple on Sand teams. You could make the argument that Mega Excadrill isn't meant to be run on Sand teams, as it just functions as a completely different type of Pokemon, but that doesn't change the fact that there's already a role for Excadrill in this format that allows for it to see consistent use. Even Mega Excadrill's ability goes mostly unused, as Excadrill's best moves in this game are Rock Slide and Earthquake, which are not contact moves. In order for Piercing Drill to hit through Protect, Excadrill has to use a contact move. This means that the only relevant moves that Excadrill runs that can hit through Protect are Iron Head and High Horsepower. Or if you're crazy, you can even run Horn Drill. Horn Drill is a contact move and it's an OHKO move. You catch them protecting, might as well go for the Horn Drill. I will say that I think in the current metagame, Mega Excadrill might be able to see some fringe usage and may even be able to do something great at Indianapolis Regionals this upcoming weekend. We'll see if that ages well, but as of right now, Mega Excadrill is considered kind of a downgrade to the base form and a little bit of a letdown considering all the hype surrounding it. Now, I don't want to dog on Mega Meowstic too much because it's a cat. But also, I feel like we're about to hit double digits of Mega Meowstic slander videos in my video library soon, so we should really just try to ease up on this Pokemon. I've been clowning on it for a couple of weeks now. So I just want to quickly point out that Mega Meowstic manages to have great stats across the board, but still manages to be less useful than one of its base forms in Male Meowstic. Male Meowstic has access to the ability Prankster, much like Sableye, which, as we saw with Sableye, is kind of all you really need to have a viable Pokemon. I mean, even Murkrow managed to be viable with just Prankster. But due to the existence of Pokemon like Sableye and Grimmsnarl, Meowstic hasn't seen much use competitively. It still has a bunch of great tools like Screens, Psychic Terrain, and Thunderwave, but other Prankster mons are typically just better than it. So Mega Meowstic fumbling the ability even harder when it Mega Evolves by running Trace, which copies the opponent's ability, causes it to rely on its base form's abilities to do basically anything in a match. By running a Male Meowstic before Mega Evolving, you get access to Prankster, which allows for you to go for like a Calm Mind or something with priority. But if you're on a female Meowstic, you get access to the ability Competitive, meaning that you can fish for a boost off of that to then attack in your Mega form. While the Mega form is superior offensively to both of its forms, there just isn't much of a reason to use it competitively, as it is just a downgrade to Mega Alakazam and doesn't have as many use cases as either of its base forms. So yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. Short Mega Meowstic section. Mega Meowstic is probably worse than both of its base forms. Now, I need to point out that despite this being the quintessential Mega downgrade Pokemon, we need to point out that Mega Garchomp might be seeing a little bit of a resurgence in usage, but we'll save that for a little bit later in the video. Mega Garchomp trades what is arguably base Garchomp's greatest asset for stat increases that ultimately really do nothing for the Pokemon. Base Garchomp has the coveted 102 speed tier, meaning that it outruns base 100s. This includes the likes of Mega Charizard Y, Landorus Incarnate, Chi-Yu, and basically 70% of other Pokemon at bare minimum. Being above 100 speed is really all you need to be viable in a lot of cases. Even Scyther managed to win a regional last year, and it basically just has that 105 speed tier to its name. With base Garchomp's 130 base attack stat, impressive bulk, and access to Stab, Dragon, and Ground-type moves with access to Rock Slide as well, it basically causes Garchomp to be the workhorse Pokemon of low-power formats, such as Regulation MA, and even Generation 7's VGC 2017 format, where it was also one of the best Pokemon. It's just been gifted with these traits that cause it to be desirable to most teams in these metagames. Mega Garchomp, however, trades that speed stat and access to an item for a 115 defense stat, a 95 special defense stat, a practically useless 120 special attack stat, and a massive 170 attack stat. This is a frankly ridiculous attack stat to give to a Pokemon with Stab Earthquake, but Mega Garchomp has its speed lowered to just 92. This causes it to be considerably slower than a number of metagame threats and making it much less effective in even Tailwind. Mega Garchomp also loses access to items which gave base Garchomp a bump in power, such as the Choice Scarf, allowing it to outspeed much faster Pokemon like opposing Tapu Koko in 2017, or the Choice Band, which allows for it to have incredible damage output, or even the Life Orb, which gives it a really good damage output as well. It was even known to run the Loaded Dice in previous formats to allow for Scale Shot to have more consistent damage output while boosting its speed. Garchomp is a Pokemon that relies heavily on items to solidify its identity and role on certain teams. Base Garchomp, with the help of its items, is not only faster than its Mega form, but capable of achieving very similar levels of damage. And the fact that it's not a Mega means that base Garchomp can be ran next to other Mega Pokemon like Charizard Y and Floette, as we have seen in this current season. It's just a much more affordable Pokemon resource-wise. That being said, recently, there has been a slight uptick in Mega Garchomp usage in Pokemon Champions, with one even top 8ing the most recent Victory Road tournament. This is due to the fact that Garchomp in current format is running a much bulkier Citrus Berry set on many teams, allowing for it to have greater longevity, flexibility, and wiggle room for error in these games, with it not even running max speed on many of these teams. Basically, Garchomp already wants to be a little bit slower than it usually is, with access to better bulk. These traits, along with the much lower power of the format around it, have led to players realizing that they can achieve the bulk that they need on their Garchomp while also boosting its damage output considerably by just running the Mega Stone instead of the Citrus Berry. The Mega variant is capable of taking even super effective Fairy type attacks from the likes of Sylveon. This is due to its greater defenses. It's able to sponge hits much better, hit about the same speed tier that they need from their base Garchomp, and hit even harder because that base Garchomp wanted to hold a Citrus Berry anyways to bolster its bulk. You basically get the best of both worlds. You get a higher damaging Garchomp, but also the bulk that you need. So as it turns out, Mega Garchomp's reputation may finally start to change in these upcoming weeks as we begin to enter the first few official tournaments of Pokemon Champions. I'm just saying, if Pokemon Champions can make Kleavor and Ariados viable, it can definitely make Mega Garchomp work. But those are the Pokemon that I believe that you should never ever Mega Evolve because their base forms are just superior to their Mega forms. I think it's kind of interesting that even with 100 more stat points, there are certain Pokemon that can be so messed up with their abilities, stat distributions, and move pool that they just end up being worse than the base form. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Make sure you guys check out my Patreon, Discord, all the playlists on screen. All of that helps me out quite a bit. And if you guys want to support me further, you can become a YouTube member or a Patreon, giving you access to my Discord channel where we talk about Pokemon, team build, and host tournaments every Monday. I'm also going to be uploading Patreon exclusive videos starting this week, so you'll get access to those. You'll see them pop up in your feed if you want to join the Patreon or become a YouTube member down the road. With that, thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, do all that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.